be able to acquire, I think, one of the best two-way guards in the league without trading Brook or Giannis or Chris or Dante was really a coup for us. I mean, I think to be able to add someone of his talent that we think takes us to the next level without taking away from our top core group of guys was really an opportunity that we couldn't say no to. We were a really good team. We've got the best player in the NBA. We've got a two-time All-Star in Chris Middleton. I think one of the best two-way guards in Jrue Holiday, and one of the best defensive centers in Brook Lopez, surrounded by a core that can shoot and compete and defend and has an IQ. The goal is to try to win championships and be in a position to compete every year.
Hey, what's up, John? For you, I guess going into this offseason, what were some of your goals? And then how do you feel like you guys were able to either accomplish those or not accomplish those, or just kind of how do you think it went?
Yeah, Eric, I mean, the big goal was obviously to improve, to get better. And we've had two really good regular seasons. We've had some successes in the playoffs, obviously, but we haven't accomplished the ultimate goal. And so the idea was to figure out how do we get better, to push the envelope, not just rest on the fact that we had a bubble performance that was subpar, and not make excuses for that, but really figure out how to improve. And so for us, analytically, from a coaching perspective, from a scouting perspective, we boiled it down into shot making, shot creation, and really kind of trying to do that while we maintain our integrity and our IQ defensively and our impact defensively. And that's a hard thing to do. But that led us to the transactions and the acquisitions that we had in the offseason. I'm happy with what we've done.
I guess with that being the focus, shot making, shot creating, guys that you brought in more offensively focused, how do you kind of balance shot making with still being able to defend the way that we all know Bud wants to?
Yeah, I think some of it's a bet. I would say Jrue Holiday is not a bet. I think one of the best two-way guards in the league, an incredible defender, has had more kind of high-level matchups defensively than any other player. And the reason is he's so versatile. With his size and his strength, he can really guard, I think, 3 to maybe even 4 positions. And so you can put him on the best player most nights. But other guys are a little bit of a bet. And the bet is you bet on their competitiveness, their IQ, and their toughness, and say that even if they haven't been the best analytically defenders or kind of eye test defenders in the league, you put them in a great system, having guys like Brook and Giannis around them, a guy like Jrue at the front of the point of attack, and they're smart guys that want to compete and really challenge themselves defensively, that you can get more out of them defensively than maybe they've had in the past. And so that's the bet. We'll see. But offensively, a lot of proven shot makers, shot creators that we added, but some really competitive, high IQ players also.
Jim Ozarski.
Hey, John, good to see you.
Hey, Jim.
So you mentioned some of the traits that attracted you about Jrue. Was he the guy, I guess, or was there a broader sense with you and your staff that a move had to be made that may require that sort of draft capital, and it was just Jrue happened to become available, or was he kind of what you were looking for in terms of all of those things you just kind of mentioned? So it was like, okay, that's where we need to kind of go and focus.
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. You go into the off season, and obviously it was a condensed, kind of shortened off season. But for us, our work in the front office is continual. It's not something that just kind of starts at the end of the season and finishes at the start of the season. It's year round. It's day to day. It's scouting. It's analysis. It's discussions with your coaching staff. And Jrue Holiday is a player that we've had our eye on for a long time. There's other players. I mean, he's not the only player in the league that we thought that could help us take another step, but he's definitely in a short list of guys that we thought could. And then you really work and see if there's an opportunity for those players to be traded. You talk to teams. You really talk internally, and you really try to figure out if a guy's going to become available, or that they're available, what's the path to acquiring them? And you figure out what you have. And for us to be able to acquire, I think, one of the best two-way guards in the league without trading Brook or Giannis or Chris or Dante was really a coup for us. I mean, I think to be able to add someone of his talent that we think takes us to the next level without taking away from our top core group of guys was really an opportunity that we couldn't say no to.
What was along the lines of Jrue, and then you mentioned kind of the bets of these other acquisitions, the balance of filling out your basketball roster, accomplishing the goals you said you were looking to do, but also in that wooing stage of Giannis and the Supermax, like the balance of putting the team together, but also hoping, I'd imagine, because I don't think you could talk by league rules, right, with him about these things. So what was that kind of like in terms of wanting to make the team good, but also make him feel, hey, this is the place to be for the next 5 years?
Yeah, so where I talked about some of those guys as being bets on, whether or not they're going to fit on offense and defense. The idea of pushing the envelope, making the team better, getting better every day, taking another step, not resting on the fact that we've been the best team in the regular season the last 2 years, historically great defensively, top 5, top 7, great offensively. Getting better is not a bet. That's our job. And I think that it mattered to Giannis. And I think it will always matter to Giannis, but it matters to me, and it matters to Mark Lazary and Wes Edens and Peter Fagan and Coach Bud and Chris Middleton and Brooke Lopez and keep on going on down. We're an organization full of people who want to get better every single day, not because it makes a transaction easier or makes an extension easier, but because it's the thing that you're supposed to do in this business when you have the best player in the world in the core that we have. Our goal is to try to sustain winning over a long period of time, compete for championships for a lot of years to go forward, and we're in a position to do that right now. And so those transactions, to me, are not bets, they're necessities to having success in this business, and that's the position we're in today.
Greg Matzik.
Hey, John, Merry Christmas to you. Pardon the glare off my shiny head here, but nonetheless, it's a bright day. Along the lines of what you're saying, I know you don't want to preach too much patience. It's a 72-game season, but truncated off-season, roster turnover, just 3 games. Is there going to be a minute before that mesh point of here's our idea and here's what is reality sort of blends together on the court? Some teams preach continuity at this time of the year. You're not really able to do that aside of your core. So is there some lumps to be had as this team works to learn each other?
I don't know if that'll happen or not, Greg. It's a great question. I think that it's a possibility, right? I mean, I think we've got eight or so new guys. So we have new talent, we have new faces that are trying to learn our system, but frankly, we have a new system. It's not only do we have a change and a push to be better and improve from a talent perspective, but Coach Bud and his staff have worked all off season and figured out how to retool things and think of defense differently, think of offense differently. Our players have added new skill sets through internal development, and so there's a lot of different facets where we've improved and changed and things are different. Does that come together tomorrow night against Boston and we play great? I don't know. Does it come together 3 weeks into the season or 2 months into the season? Those are all the things that we'll have to kind of wait and see. But I do have confidence in the way that we've gotten better every step of the way so far, and kind of, you mentioned, a truncated kind of off-season, a short and condensed training camp. This team's gotten better, in my opinion, each preseason game. We've had great hard practices. They are learning each other. They're starting to improve. For me, we're healthy right now, so to continue to be healthy. I want to have a great start to the season, but most importantly, I want to have a great, healthy finish to the season. And that's the goal, and we'll evaluate it kind of day in and day out and see how we're progressing toward that.
Zora Stevenson.
Hey, John, you just talked about wanting to have a great finish. So then how do you couple that with your approach to the regular season? Giannis kind of laid out yesterday his approach to all of us, and you know how Giannis is. He's 100% all the time. How would you like to see the guys approach the regular season so that hopefully they're equipped for the playoffs?
Yeah, I would like for us to continue to be who we've been, and that's a team that competes every night, that comes out, plays hard every night, doesn't take for granted that we've been good, that's motivated by the losses that we've had in the last couple of years, that really, whether it's the new guys who are motivated because they have an opportunity to be part of this group, or the returning guys that are motivated because of the things that have happened to this group. You want to see that motivation, you want to see that desperation, that hunger to win and compete every single night. And Giannis is Giannis. So if that's not happening, he's going to hold himself accountable. He's going to hold his teammates accountable. Coach Bud is going to hold everyone accountable. So really, Zora, to me, that's what matters most, that we compete every single night. Now, is it pretty? Does it fit perfectly? There's a difference between just playing hard every night, but playing hard and playing well and winning every night. I mean, those are some of the things that we'll evaluate. But most importantly, I just want to see the same group like we have for the last couple of years compete every night and really try to win every night.
Eric Woodyard.
Hey, what's up, John? How you doing?
Good, Eric. How are you, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. obviously this offseason was different than anything we've ever faced, even this season. You know, it's been everything just kind of, you know, going so quickly. We saw the league, you know, issue the ruling on you guys yesterday. I guess what was your reaction to what they decided to do? And is there something that you guys could learn from that situation with us being in a situation we've never faced before? So how you guys even dealt with the offseason?
Yeah, different parts of your question. Obviously, the season, we've had the longest NBA season in history, I think followed by the shortest offseason in professional sports history. So there's a lot to learn from that. And we've learned, I think there's certain things that we can cut out of what we do, certain things that we have to continue to do and do better. But I'm really, really happy with how we've navigated this unprecedented time with some of the big things that we had to do. If you think about trying to negotiate a Supermax extension, just take that as an example. You know, we didn't get a July 1st date to start negotiating with our player. In fact, we got about a week. And you know, every other one that's been done has had a long kind of runway to figure these things out. We didn't get to do it after a traditional, highly successful season. We did it after a global pandemic and kind of an early burnout in the playoffs against the Miami Heat. And so there's a lot of challenges and a lot of things that I think you can learn from that. I'm happy that we've had some successes in it. We've had some failures. So that's kind of that part of the question. The NBA part of it in the league ruling, I just would say that, you know, we were intentional and fully compliant and cooperative with the NBA from the get. The decision's been made, and we're moving on. We're really excited about the season starting tomorrow, and you know, we'll kind of take it from there.
Steve McGargy.
Thank you for doing this. I was just wondering, with the loss of all the draft capital you gave up to acquire Jrue, just how difficult is it going to be in terms of if you want to add a piece at mid-season or something like that with the assets you have? And obviously other teams have done this as well, giving up multiple draft picks to kind of hasten that window. But how difficult will it be to improve if you're trying to make a playoff push?
Yeah, I think, Steve, it's a great question. It's something that we have to consider and factor in when you make these decisions. But I'll go back to the goal of making this team, which was already really, really good, better. And I would just say I would rather have players and try to figure out how to use draft capital than have a lot of draft capital and try to figure out how to get players. And right now, I think we've got a lot of good players, and we were a really good team. We've got the best player in the NBA. We've got a two-time All-Star in Chris Middleton. I think one of the best two-way guards and Jrue Holiday, and one of the best defensive centers in Brook Lopez, surrounded by a core that can shoot and compete and defend and has an IQ. And I think we have a real chance, and that's the goal. The goal isn't to make as many great late draft picks as we can over the next couple of years. The goal is to try to win championships and to be in a position to compete every year. And we might have to get better. This team might not be good enough. We might have to pivot and adjust again. But again, I think we have players that have value, that are valued by our organization, that fit, and are going to have a chance to compete with us every single day. And if we need to adjust, we'll be creative and be strategic, and we'll figure out how to adjust again.
Kane Pittman.
Hey, John. Good to see you, mate. My question, you mentioned the Supermax, and I just want to ask about Giannis specifically because this was clearly the biggest part of the offseason, trying to get that signature, and you spoke about the shortened offseason. So there was always a confidence, I guess, that sort of, to me, that felt like it was coming out of the organization that you were going to be able to get it done. But can you just sort of run us through your feelings and your stress levels and what this meant to you and the organization to actually tie this down?
Yeah, I feel like my hairline is different looking at myself here on the Zoom screen, so that probably speaks to the stress levels. It's not quite Greg Matzek-like, but it's getting there. So, like, I think the confidence that we've had from day one is not necessarily in the decision that Giannis would or wouldn't make. It was always his decision, and he and his family were going to make the best decisions for themselves based on the facts. I think the confidence has been and will continue to be in how we treat people in our organization, not just players, but people, from every staff member to every player, rookie or vet or intern or full-time employee. We've worked really hard, from Peter Fagan to Wes Edens to Mark Lazary and Jamie Dine and myself and Coach Bud and everyone that's part of this, to create an organization where excellence is the goal, getting better every day is the mission, and really coming to work and enjoying work every single day, an environment that you want to be part of. And I believe that we showed Giannis that, we showed his family that, we showed everyone that's been involved in that, and it's helped us recruit. And not recruiting in the sense that we're, offering things that we can't offer or having conversations we're not supposed to have. Like, none of that stuff was done or matters, in my opinion. What matters is that we've created an environment where we're winning. We're winning at a high level, year in and year out, day in and day out, and it's a great place to work. And that's all Giannis cares about. He wants to win at the highest level. He wants to get better every day, and he wants to be surrounded by people that care about greatness, and he wants to enjoy it, and he wants his family to be loved. And I've always had confidence that that's what we would show him and that we'll continue to show him. And I think at the end of the day, it mattered.
Eric, name?
John, because of some things kind of out of your control, you have a situation where a guy like Dante DiVincenzo, DJ Wilson think, oh, maybe I'm getting traded. Maybe I'm not going to be with the organization. How do you try to patch up any relationship that might have been hurt from something that was, seemingly out of your control?
Yeah, Eric, it's a great question, and it's a challenging piece of our business. It's hard. These are hard decisions, and there's people's lives that are impacted, and it's the part I like least about this business is that you have to make business decisions sometimes with people that you love, and you love at a personal level. I think the foundation that you lay beforehand makes it a lot easier to patch things up. And it's not always, a rumor or something that happens and someone thinks they're getting traded or not, but sometimes it's an actual separation. Someone gets traded, or someone chooses to go somewhere else in free agency, or we choose not to sign them in free agency. But we try really hard to lay a foundation of trust and honesty and just being forthright with these guys from the beginning that we're going to care for you, we're going to care for your family every single day, invest in you the best that we can, be honest with you every single day. And someday we might trade you, and someday you might decide to leave in free agency, or someday we might decide to go in a different direction, but that doesn't change how we're going to approach it every single day. And I think because we've laid that foundation, doesn't mean that it's always perfect, but when things happen that are difficult or challenging or sometimes uncomfortable, you have that foundation to go back onto, and the guys can say, you know what, you told me that from the get. You were honest with me about that. I can live with that. Let's move forward. And thankfully, I think that's where we are with Dante, and I think that's where we are with DJ. And it really speaks to their character also. Those guys are all about winning. They're all about the team. They love coming to work every day. They're happy to be here. And I think you've seen that in their play.
Specifically with Dante, you have 4 starters that no one questions their place in the league, how good they are. Dante's kind of that 5th starter this year. What are you expecting for him in year 3?
I'm expecting more of what we've seen glimpses of, I think, on a more consistent level, because he's going to get more of an opportunity and because he's better. Dante's worked his tail off all off season, and really just every chance he's had a chance to develop and grow, he's done it. And so this is a kid that is highly competitive, has a great basketball IQ, is a really high-level athlete, and has a skill set to go with all of it. And so you surround him with players that can create opportunities like Giannis and Chris and Jrue, and defensively the protection that Brook gives him and just the outlet that Brook gives him to pass. I think Dante's going to have a really, really solid year for us and has earned an opportunity to be the 5th starter on this team. I think he'll maintain that position, although it's always up for competition. That's what I love about Coach Bud. But he's in a great spot and has a great opportunity, I think, to have a breakout year.
Cassidy Hubarth.
Hi, John. Sorry, I have my mask on. I'm out and about Christmas shopping. But I wanted to ask you, Coach Bud kind of told us how when he found out he was in the car, his sons showed him the tweet that Giannis sent out. Could you set the scene for us as far as, when you were notified that Giannis was re-signing?
Yeah, it's not too dissimilar from Coach Bud, but obviously this is something we'd been working on. We'd had, it's well chronicled. We'd had a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations. Was our number one focus. And so you start gaining momentum in any conversation. You try to, build from each conversation and address things and talk about things and work through them, whether that be with Giannis's agents, Yorgos Panou or Alex Saratzis, who are great partners and great people and major in this whole process. Our ownership group with Mark Lazary and Wes Edens, myself directly to Giannis. There's a lot of conversations that go on and you start gaining momentum. So just feeling good about it, obviously, as we're getting closer to that. But like Bud and like the rest of the world, it's kind of a zero-sum game. It's either 100% you're in or it's 0% chance you're in. And you don't really know until you read the post that Giannis posted, which was perfect. Really well done in his own way, not controlled by us at all. It was his message, his words, his timing, and I think we were all waiting to see if it was going to happen, and it happened, and it was a great moment for all of us.
All right, we'll wrap up with Jim Ozarski.
John, you kind of addressed a little bit with Steve's question, about a midseason move, but with the extra roster spot or active game day roster spot, is there any chance at all that you may be able to take advantage of that, down the line? Or is that just something where you're at cap wise, roster wise, that, the 14 and the two ways is kind of where you're at for a while?
Yeah, I think both. I think kind of where we're at for a while, but because we have an open roster spot, there's not a guaranteed contract in there. There is some opportunity. There's opportunity through exploring trades. There's some opportunity through exploring free agent signings. There are some opportunities that we can explore as we go. But with our hard cap situation, with our financial position that we're in right now, it's pretty tight. But it's advantageous for us, both necessary based on our hard cap, but also advantageous for us going forward to have a little bit of flexibility and be a little more have a little more option as we go forward.
I know there's I know there's a little window before the G League starts. The two-way guys to have 50 games, but do you have any clarity on the herd participating in that bubble? And do you anticipate maybe shuffling your guys to the bubble, or do you think that's something where the value is really to keep them in Milwaukee? Thank you.
Yeah, Jim, great questions. I feel like I'm kind of like giving you these bifurcated answers on both and giving like two options here, but I think both also on that one. There is definitely an opportunity, I think, for Jalen and Mamadi to have a role, not only potentially in games, but really in practice settings and just getting them reps and getting an opportunity to grow with us and be around our strength and condition every single day. The herd has done an incredible job the last few years and will continue to be a really, really beneficial part of our program and an asset to our program. But with a lot of the restrictions with staffing and COVID and everything that goes on, there's an argument to say that the best development for those guys will be as close to us as possible this year. But also, whether it's with a herd or if not with a herd, with different teams in that bubble, getting guys opportunities and exposure to play 5-on-5 basketball and competitive basketball if they're not getting that at the Bucks level, that is something that we're considering as we try to weigh these options of whether or not to be part of the G League bubble.
Great. Thank you, John. Appreciate the time.
Thanks, everyone. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Great to see you. And hopefully talk soon.
Thanks, John.